The little cloud who couldn't cry. Celeste was a little cloud, a fluffy, pearly white wisp that drifted lazily across the vast blue canvas above. She loved her life. She loved feeling the gentle nudge of the wind, watching the world unfurl beneath her like a giant green and brown patchwork quilt, and playing hide and seek with the sun. But there was one thing that made Celeste feel different. All the other clouds could cry. Big, fat, splattering raindrops that nourished the earth below, filled the rivers, and made the flowers bloom. Celeste, however, couldn't. She would gather with the other clouds when they grew heavy and gray, the air thick with anticipation. She would feel the rumble in their bellies, the way they pressed together, and she would try her very best. She would squeeze all her fluffy parts. She would will the water within her to condense and fall, but nothing would happen, not a single drop. The other clouds were kind. They never teased her, but Celeste could see the curious glances, the unspoken questions in their misty forms. "Perhaps you haven't gathered enough water yet, little one," a large, booming cumulus once said, its voice like distant thunder. But Celeste knew it wasn't that. She felt full. She felt the weight within her, yet it remained stubbornly locked. One day, feeling particularly glum, Celeste drifted away from the others. She floated over a vast, dry field, the earth cracked and thirsty. The plants drooped, their leaves brittle and brown. Celeste felt a pang in her fluffy heart. She wished, more than anything, that she could help. She watched as a weary farmer looked up at the sky, his face etched with worry. Suddenly, Celeste felt a strange sensation. It wasn't the usual pressure of trying to rain. This was a different kind of fullness, a swelling in her very core. She looked down at the parched land, at the wilting plants, and a deep, profound sadness washed over her. It wasn't sadness for herself, for her inability to cry, but sadness for the thirsty earth. And then something extraordinary happened. Not raindrops, but something else entirely began to fall from Celeste. It wasn't water, but it was a shimmering, silvery dust. It wasn't wet, but as it settled on the dry soil, a faint, cool mist arose. The cracked earth seemed to sigh in relief, and the drooping plants slowly began to lift their heads. A delicate silvery sheen coated everything, sparkling in the sunlight that peeked through Celeste's edges. The farmer gasped, his eyes wide with wonder. He had never seen anything like it. It wasn't rain, but it felt like a gentle blessing, a cool kiss on the parched land. Celeste watched in amazement. She wasn't crying water, but she was still bringing relief. As the silvery dust continued to fall, she noticed something else. Tiny, delicate flowers began to sprout from the once barren ground. They weren't ordinary flowers. They had petals that shimmered with the same silvery light, and they seemed to glow softly. The other clouds, who had been searching for Celeste, gathered around, their misty forms filled with curiosity. They had never seen anything like it either. "What is this?" the booming cumulus asked, his voice softer this time, filled with awe. Celeste didn't know. All she knew was that she had felt a deep sadness for the dry land, and this shimmering dust had appeared. A wise old cloud, who had seen many seasons pass, drifted closer. "Little Celeste," she said gently, "you may not cry tears of water, but you have a different kind of gift. You cry stardust, born from empathy and a kind heart. It may not quench thirst in the same way, but it brings a different kind of life, a different kind of beauty to the world." From that day on, Celeste was no longer known as the little cloud who couldn't cry. She became Celeste, the little cloud who showered the land with stardust. When the earth was parched in a different way, when it needed a touch of magic, a spark of wonder, it was Celeste who would drift by, her heart full of care, and let her silvery stardust fall. The shimmering flowers that bloomed in her wake became known as Celeste's tears, a reminder that even in our differences, we can find unique and beautiful ways to make the world a little brighter. And as the stars twinkled in the night sky, they seemed to wink a silent greeting to the little cloud who cried stardust, a reminder that every heart, no matter how different, holds its own special kind of magic. And as Celeste drifted off to her own cloudy slumber each night, she knew that even though she couldn't cry like the other clouds, she had her own special way of nurturing the world, one shimmering speck of stardust at a time.